Hopefully you guys are caught up. Something's weird with Restream today, but that's the beginning. Welcome to Evidence-Based Audio Engineering and Education, number 136. And this is the Euthyphro dilemma. Okay, let me find out what we're talking about today. All right, let me find my... Okay. So I saw a lot of stuff. I know a lot of people are waiting for Antares to get Autotune working the way they think it oughta, especially for the prices now. But that's just sour grapes, I guess. We'll see. Anyway, I think the big news everybody's been talking about Antares, the reason anybody's talking about them at all right now is they just made something called Autotune Slice, and it says the world's most advanced vocal sampler. And from what I could tell, you turn your voice into an instrument. Hopefully, it'd be nice to even get the basic stuff we used to have in the 80s, like 2 Hearts or whatever. You barely hear that kind of vocal sampling anymore, but apparently this will really give you in notes. We shall see. You can try it right now for free. I think you still need to use a credit card for the free trial. I can't remember exactly last time I tried this stuff. But go check it out. Just type in Autotune Slice. You'll see a bunch of YouTube videos and things like that. So next thing, Slate. So we're talking tuners. This is not so long after what Crispy Tuner got released, right? And strangely, when you look at this thing, we shall see. We shall see. Hold on. So let me just tell you. Slate. So this is from Gear News. Slate Digital Metatune, the ultimate auto-tune plugin. No. Okay. So it looks like this is an automatic auto-tune plugin. So what people usually think of as auto-tune is, in auto mode. But in real life, I think a lot of us use it in graphical mode. Or similar things, Melodyne, whatever. As far as I can tell, this one is just in automatic mode. It just automatically corrects your pitch. You don't actually control. You don't draw in the pitches like you would in some of these other ones, or modify them heavily by hand per individual note, the way you would in back when Isotope made one. In Nectar or Melodyne or, of course, Autotune Pro in graphical mode. Okay. But one of the cool things that they did in this Slate plugin, let's see where it is. Let me read this. One feature that could be a huge time saver is groups. This lets you assign each instance of the plugin to one of 4 groups. Changes to one instance are then reflected in all other instances in the same group, which makes it easy to manage your tuning settings across several tracks. Great idea. It is a great idea. It's nice to see... Molitor Buzz. Fired. It's nice to see that there's more plugins that are aware. I think you guys probably know about Isotope and how they had... they have plugins that can see each other and tell each other what their spectral content is, for keeping clashing frequencies away from each other, which is a good idea. Side chaining plugins that talk to other instances of the plugin. I'd love to see more of this stuff. That's what makes Melodyne pretty good. The Super Pro $1 billion version where you can see a bunch of tracks at once. I think some of the other tuning plugins do that. What's the guys? The Autoalign, Vocaline Studio or whatever. I think they do something like that as well. Okay. Anyway, you can get the Slate one on their subscription thing or buy it outright. But so it's neat starting to see a lot of these automatic mode ones. But I think Crispy Tune actually had a graphical mode as well. Room EQ Wizard, there's an update too. Sidechain is important, but Java is cool for plugin development. You want to build us some plugins in Java? So Room EQ Wizard just got an update, and I think the one you guys are going to be super interested in here is, where did it go? Right here. Added a resistance trace to the impedance and phase graph to show the real part of the impedance. Now, that's going to be interesting if this works. If you guys are really good at being able to test that for accuracy, I would love to hear about it. So if you guys who use Room EQ Wizard, please go check out the new resistance trace and let me know how that works. That sounds pretty cool. Okay. Here was a kind of crazy one. I saw it's a couple places in the news. Sweetwater was sold, and I found this June 29th, 2021. So I'm a little behind, I guess, right? It says, Sweetwater, a leading e-commerce provider of musical instruments and audio equipment today, announced a strategic investment from funds advised by Providence Equity Partners, a premier private equity firm. Financial terms of the transaction were not disclosed. Of course, every website made it sound like some pretty serious doom and gloom, and we just lost Sweetwater or whatever. But we've had issues with Sweetwater on here before, right? But I'm generally pretty happy with them. Really love their fixing it when they do something, even if it's not really their fault, but if it's on their end, they really do take care of it. But they made it sound like it was just completely like doom and gloom. The big corporate behemoth has come to eat the mom and pop, which I don't even know how accurate any of that is. But Chuck Chirac, founder and CEO of Sweetwater, said, "We are thrilled to partner with Providence to help accelerate our next phase of growth and bring the Sweetwater difference to even more customers. I am incredibly proud of the growth of our company achieved over the last year, which would not have been possible without the dedication of our employees and world-class team of music gear experts. I am confident this growth equity investment will allow us to reach new heights and further our mission of enabling customers to make music and pursue their dreams." So not to get this video banned by YouTube, but as a lot of you guys know, if you tried to buy gear during this last couple years of the Backstreet Boys reunion tour, it's been hard to get gear, hasn't it? Some of these places like Sweetwater, they made, as far as I know, they made a killing during this thing. People were buying stuff left and right, and there was gear shortages because of manufacturing problems, but there were also gear shortages because of the insane amount of people just buying stuff. And we talked before about that weird hoarding that was kind of going on at the beginning, where all the used stuff was being bought for pretty high prices and just kind of disappeared off the market. I still don't see that stuff. It's gone, and I'm not seeing it on Craigslist. I'm not seeing it on eBay. But anyway, through the last year, Sweetwater has probably made a good chunk, even with stuff not being in stock. And that probably took some, sometimes it's hard to grow fast. Growing fast can kill you just as easily as not growing at all, right? So I wonder if they had stuff going on in the background with all this. But, this could be a good thing. I don't know that this is bad. Maybe they start making some crappier policies or something, but who knows? It's interesting. It's on the tip of everybody's tongue about all this doom and gloom, but it so far doesn't look like it's horrible. Maybe we end up with a Sweetwater store in every city. How about that? Would that be crazy? It'd be cool. Nice to see some competition, even though I know everybody hates when I say it. I'm so happy to have a Guitar Center here. So incredibly happy to have a Guitar Center here right now. So anyhow, next thing is SSL's got some Fusion plugins out, and normally they're $199. Go grab them, I guess. So one of them is called the Stereo Image plugin. brings Fusion's mid-side circuit to your DAW. Now, what is Fusion? Is that one of their consoles? Live sound, not in there. Live sound, mixer, duality, fuse. Oh, Fusion processor. Let's see. Their Fusion things is some rack mount gear. Anyway, let's just go back to this. So this is the fine-tune width, depth, and space around your sounds, instruments, vocals, and the entire mix. I've never had a good time with these stereo imaging plugins, but I know people who do incredible things with them. So go check it out. I guess right now you save $50, but I'd just go try it, see if it does something for you. Looks neat. The other one is their Vintage Drive plugin, and I'm sure a lot more people are going to want this. Again, normally $199. It's on sale for $50 right now. $50 off right now. It's not my link. I don't get anything from it, so don't think you're killing me by not clicking on it. But the Fusion Drive plugin is a digital emulation of the Vintage Drive processor from SSL's critically acclaimed Fusion stereo analog coloration hardware. Designed to produce gentle harmonic saturation and soft compression, reminiscent of driving vintage hardware into the analog sweet spot to all-out authentic analog distortion. Fusion Vintage Drive plugins is a must-have for adding an organic feel to your tracks, groups, mixes, and masters. You know what's funny is that, in these consoles, these are transistor consoles or chip consoles. This is transistor distortion. And yet, these same Viscontiers, the same cork sniffers, are going to tell you how horrible transistor distortion is and how much better tube distortion is on their guitars, but they want this analog distortion plugin on their things. Anyways, it's probably cool if you're into this stuff, and SSL has been delivering some solid plugins. Okay, Acon Digital. Okay, so now these guys are saying they have Deverberate 3 out, and this one's claiming reverb reduction based on deep learning. So that's some artificial intelligence wording, right? But if you have reverb on your track and you don't want it, boy, does that suck. If you don't have reverb, you can always add it, and especially if you've got everything on its own track. But man, it's nice to be able to get rid of it. And I've heard some of these things do something okay. If this is something that, especially if you're into like forensic audio or whatever, you might want to go check this out. Acon Digital Deverberate 3. I'm betting that there's a demo for it. Let's see. Regular price is $99 for the full version. If you have the older versions of Deverberate, this upgrades, different prices are free or something. Let's see. Yeah, there's a demo for this. Yeah, you should go check it out. If you're doing forensic audio, you need to get rid of some reverb, or maybe this is just a cool effect to try and pull on stuff in the first place. Maybe I should just go grab it and shut up and go check it out. Okay. All right, and there is a rumor that the next version of Helix software, and it's so nice to see Line 6 continuing to update the Helix software. I'm a Helix owner now. For some crazy reason, I got a thing, a digital device 6 years into its life. That's insane. That's game over already. And you know what? These things weren't any cheaper than when they were released. But yeah, I got a Helix now, and we've had a lot of shows where we talk about how bad Line 6 can be about either hearing their market or making some kind of weird crippleware or just abandonware. But Helix has been continued to be updated. And I think we mentioned a little bit on the show, but I did a lot of videos on there was a problem on their Autoengage where it would turn into a toggle rather than a on or off. It would toggle the on or off state. And that's the same problem that you have in like bias effects and actually in a lot of software. When you're trying to use, especially when you're saving presets or saving snapshots or scenes or whatever it called in that particular program, and you have something that you want on or off, a plugin, especially one that you can auto-engage, and you end up with it in the wrong state. So it's supposed to be off when you start it, and you move your pedal, and it just flips states. And instead of switching it to on, maybe it switches it to off in a certain place. So I put it on idea scale. There's some videos that go along with it and everything else. And I had asked, for this next, let me hide this guy's name. So we heard on a forum, I was like, I hope we can get this auto-engage fixed. And somebody says, if I recall correctly, Igor and I have spoken about this, and I believe, don't quote me, this is coming. So there may be that this is coming, but I'm not quoting him because it may not be. But I hope it is, because that would be awesome. Okay. You got this from Safe Space. Hey, yeah, Sam's doing good. I'm doing good. Just going. Speaking of which, it's my 50th birthday party on October 9th. That's a Saturday. If you guys can get down here, get down here. If you're in a band and you want to play, we should have bands all night. So, yeah, give me a call. Let me know. So this is from Safe Space. And the title is Industry Standard Marketing Hype or a Moving Target? I guess it could be both. He says, I'm someone who finds marketing to be psychologically driven, hence why focus groups are a thing to see if segments of the public like or dislike whatever is being marketed to them. With that being said, is the term industry standard more so marketing hype or a moving target as sounds, gear, etc. change in every era? I'm sick of the term, but try not to be swayed by it, and it's why I'm not a gear, what. Okay, and so somebody answers. So how many forums have I been kicked off of or discussions have I been kicked out of because I absolutely object to this term industry standard, because the way it was being used back then meant Pro Tools. And so I always asked, okay, we're, depending on which industry we're in, the Audio Engineering Society, we have standards orgs. We have ASCII, we have ANSI, we have standards orgs. And yet none of them mentioned a DAW as the standard. So when you say industry standard DAW, maybe that's de facto, but there is no actual standarding organization that would cover that kind of thing, or would cover it, but they haven't done it. So I don't know. It's not industry standard in it. But I like the way the Noodle answered here. It says, yes, industry standard is a hype phrase that seasoned members here have long ago learned to ignore. I believe, like the ignore button, there's another button around here that, when pushed, automatically substitutes the words bunch of crap over offending words and phrases. If I recall correctly, the button works so. And in general, when you're, this is the education that you guys, if you're here for the audio engineering education, this is the education part you need. You can substitute bunch of crap whenever you see these next words in a sentence. Industry standard, game changer, game changing, award winning, revolutionary, sounds like tape, robust, and of course now for the last couple of years, AI powered neural networking, on my list to buy, no brainer. And somebody else answered, there used to be a lot less gear and there used to be industry standards. And then there are industry fads. Oh, see, somebody else had it. Yeah, that is a lot of buzzwords. They used to say de facto standard, meaning whatever the thing is they're talking about is the most popular, but not standardized in any way. Doesn't roll off the tongue as nicely as industry standard does. In our field, a good example of both would be Pro Tools. So this guy's seeing the same thing that I have. So that's hey, Jake. Yeah, that's I mean, buzzwords are what you use when you can't actually back up your stuff. The other one, what is it? Wellness. Like if you have real medicine, you can sell it as medicine. If you have a real treatment, you can sell it as a treatment. But if you can't actually back up that it works, you just call it wellness and you can still sell it. Buzzwords, right? Let's see, what else do we have here? Okay. So here's one thing. I am alive with the slightly hurt knee because I'm trying to learn how to ride an old people bike. Okay. So here's something from a home recording studio zone on Facebook. I'm going to rant so that it won't hurt my feelings if admins reject this post. So I have been playing and recording music for around 25 years, just your typical jukebox hero. It's only been in the past 5 to 8 years that I've really begun to grow as a mixer. So here's my gripe. I get so hung up on these YouTube videos of these pros making these 1 or 2 dB EQ changes and subtle compression moves I can't hear 95% of the time that it almost makes me want to quit at times. No, I cannot hear your 1 or 2 dB change in your narrow EQ, and just about every mid-boost idea that the pros suggest makes me feel like I'm listening in on a telephone call. Yeah, hobbyists. Just make your music even if you're breaking the rules. Pros, keep making content, because even though it's irritating that I can't hear most of what you're doing, I have still grown from it. It's just art, man. I don't know, maybe someone on the verge of giving needs to hear this, that the feeling will pass. Giving up, I suppose. Keep pushing those faders, bro. So to me, there's a lot in there. But, of course I answered, as usual with this kind of thing. A lot of times they can't hear it either. And I know you guys you take a lot of offense to that, but we know from ABX testing, especially, a lot of times, like cables, cables are notorious for it. Tone wood in guitars. DAW summing when they absolutely null and the people think they hear differences. A lot of times the EQ is not even on and they're turning it and they think they're doing something, but they're actually not doing it. So a lot of times they don't know, but that wasn't meant completely. I got called out on it, of course. 2-track mastering. A lot of stuff has been disproven with ABX tests like Voodoo power cables, etc. But this ain't one of them. On good speakers in a good room, a lot of mastering engineers can hear shifts as little as half a decibel in certain frequencies. 1 to 1.5 dB more in a typical room. 3 dB change is pretty huge. In all my mastering work, I've rarely made boost cuts bigger than 3 or 4 dB. But hearing those differences is why MEs keep harping on great room acoustics and great monitors. You can't tweak it if you can't hear it, and hearing it takes a room with a very flat frequency response. So, that's true. But, I answer that's also true, but there are plenty of times they claim to hear tiny differences, sometimes in circuits that don't even exist. Means you need to make damn sure before beating yourself up over the Viscontier's fallacy. So, yes, you may not see huge things when you're making little tweaks, especially when you're starting, or when you're an old buzzard like me. A lot of times I can hear the most subtle things in the world, and a lot of times I couldn't hear sledgehammer against a brick wall. It's a weird thing. I may be focused in on other things than other people are. There's so much of this is psychological and everything else. But if you don't hear these tiny little differences and stuff, don't kill yourself. That mastering engineer is right that your chances of hearing it are better in a room with some decent treatment. There's a lot to that as well, though. generally it would still be there. But, if things are really smeary, maybe you're not going to hear it. But just because you don't hear that stuff, don't kill yourself over it. Just keep on working at it, like the rest of that, what the guy had to say. Keep on working at it, and maybe you'll hear it when it matters, or maybe it doesn't matter. I mean, if it doesn't matter, like if you don't hear it and you still like your stuff, yeah, it probably could have sounded better. Maybe it wouldn't matter at all. I mean, how many songs are just awful? And they still do well. So there's a sort of related question. Same group. So he asks, so we can run a digitally recorded track through a piece of analog gear to give it a more analog sound, right? What piece of gear do you think does this the best if you only had one to do it with? If I had to guess, having never done it, I would think an EQ. So let's just read some answers before I say anything. So somebody says Avalon 737, which is I think it was a mic preamp and compressor combo. I think it was like a channel strip. So the guy says, so you would say a compressor? Dang it, that was my first gut choice. Thanks for the input. And it's just one channel for stereo. You would need two. Well, let's see. I've clicked the wrong thing. Good EQs and compressors are the most obvious candidates, especially older units with good transformers or tubes. And of course, there's always tape saturation. Get in touch if you want analog mastering or want stems bounced to analog tape. Anyway, okay. Personally, if I wanted analog sound, I'd use analog gear to record rather than attempt to simulate it. It's not going to really sound like tape. Will always the specific attributes of digital recording. Tape nerds will know. Maybe. But I guess this gets, this is kind of like the Euthyphro dilemma, right? Is a rule good because someone says it is, or does someone say it is because the rule's good? When you're saying like it sounds good or whatever, what does that mean? Is it good because the market buys it? Or does the market buy it because it's good? Or does the market buy it because somebody spent a whole ton of marketing on it and a bunch of conformists jump in there with whatever? So, what does good really mean? I mean, this is such a subjective thing. So many times I've heard something. I mean, it's famous. This is my gang of friends and stuff. When Linkin Park came out, I'm like, nobody's going to buy this. What? I don't get it. Well, I kind of was wrong, huh? So, it's hard to know what's good. But it's weird. Like, why do we assume analog is good? And why do we assume digital is bad? What is good about analog, okay? I can tell you what's bad. I think we can all tell you what's bad. Generation loss, storage, getting back out exactly what you put in, being able to predict pretty much everything. What might be good on analog is that it, in some cases, distorts a certain way. Well, we can model that distortion. Maybe we haven't yet, but there's no reason we can't. Is it a EQ bump? We can certainly do that with an EQ. Is it, somebody said like transformer and stuff like that. How many times have we done ABX tests with transformers in and out and nobody can tell which one's which? But any of these things that are analog, it seems like hey, Simon, it seems like we should be able to model them. There's no, I hope you agree. There's no theory. Well, actually, I know there are people that don't agree. But to me, there's no reason in theory that we can't model every single thing that happens in the real world. If we can measure it, we can model it. So why assume digital is bad? What does digital even mean to you? And what does digital sound like to you? It shouldn't sound like anything. It should sound like whatever you put in. And if you're talking about digital signal processing, it should sound like what you want it to sound like coming out, I guess. It should sound like whatever you did to it added to whatever it was in the first place. This is one of those things, like, when Britney Spears or whoever was around, whatever the big one is at the time, digital or analog, nobody cares. They're not going to buy it or not buy it because of that. If you're going for people who, like back in the day, remember we had the 2-inch 8-track head stack for the crazy jazzers, super low noise, whatever. There's people who want stuff like that. And I'm not 1,000,000% convinced that they hear that much of a difference anyway, but it's tradition, whatever. And so we do it that way. Yeah, see what Simon Larkin says. Digital is good. You just got to know what you're doing. Yeah. And digital can be bad because if analog will do the same thing, man. If you had the bozos that would align a tape recorder a certain way, not mark it, not even leave you tones, and then they send the tape to you to be mixed, and they tell you, it's just based on whatever the current MRL is, and analog can be bad even at the highest levels. Crazy things happen. Yeah, what's Alanis Morissette was late 90s on ADAT, right? I mean, that was one of the first ADAT hits, I think. A Jagged Little Pill, maybe. But anyway, make sure that you have a good idea of what's good before you think you need to go sending your junk off to analog in order to mix, or some just putting something, the A word in front of something, the analog word, it's going to make it better. I don't think, like we always say, it's like, if you had this hit song and somebody says, oh, you know what, if you would have used a Focusrite mic preamp on there instead of a PreSonus mic preamp on there, it would have been more of a hit. Like, nah, I don't think so. Anyways, it's about all I really got for you today. So just think about that. What is good before you go and spending your money on stuff that probably isn't going to make any difference. And I'll see you guys later. And I'm going to Waimanalo and hopefully go snorkeling a little bit. My kind of snorkeling where I stand on the shore and look down at the tide pool and see if there's fish in there and look at them and don't get in the water. And then hopefully you guys can tell me where there's some dirt jumps I can go ride later on. So I'll see you guys later. Oops. So that's TikTok. Goodbye, TikTok. And goodbye, Instagram. Yep. All right, yeah, I'm gonna go ride my bike. I'll see you guys later. Yeah, Simon, that's right. The ADAT, when that doing that thing with the ADAT just made everybody so mad. I'm hoping that he had a Mackie mixer with that, and that would really freak people out, especially Fletcher.